Hello, my name's Andy. Welcome to the 15th episode of Keeping Water. In this episode, I'm going to show you a test run for an underwater filming project that I have planned for next year. After that, there'll be the usual weekly update, where I'll show you the progress of the poorly tench and injured mirror carp, as well as the results of my latest water quality tests. If you want to jump straight to the weekly update, there's timestamps in the description below. Right, let's get started. Like many pond keepers will tell you, winter is quite a quiet time in the pond. Therefore, I've been thinking of my plans for next year, including how I film the fish underwater. One plan I have is to film through a whole 24-hour period, capturing their behaviour and activity levels, etc. So this week I completed a trial run to look at its feasibility and discover what problems I might have to overcome. I didn't quite manage to complete 24 hours, but certainly did identify some problems. So at about 6:30 in the morning, I put the GoPro in the pond, and later on playback saw, well, not very much for quite a while. So let's speed things up a bit. Just a heads up that I'll be fast forwarding a fair bit through lots of this. I'll put the time up at various points so you know where we are, and I'll slow it down and add some notes when there's points of interest. So, as usual, it's that part of the video when I ask what I've learned from all of this. Firstly, that this time of year isn't the best for this kind of project. The fish's behaviour and activity levels are pretty much the same slow moping around in the increasingly cooling 10 and a bit degree water. The only real change is that they start to spend more time in the surface levels of water as the day progressed and the sun came out. Next, the position wasn't great. It was slightly hampered by the net being over the pond and the need to be able to replace the camera in a similar position each time. I'll explain why later. It showed the part of the pond where the fish spend most of the time, but it didn't really show where they swam and what they did when they were somewhere else. There are also technical issues. My GoPro doesn't have a great battery life or storage capacity. I solved this by filming for around 60 to 90 minutes, then taking it out, saving the videos and charging the camera, which is why I needed to replace it back in the same position each time, as I mentioned before. Finally, the GoPro doesn't do filming in the dark or dull conditions particularly well, and coupled with the net over the pond meant that most of the filming was of pretty poor quality. So, to get this project to work, I'm going to need to 1. Try it in the spring when the weather's warming up and the fish are feeding more and maybe thinking of spawning and there's more hours of daylight. 2. Choose a better position, probably in the rear left corner of the pond, pointing across to the front right corner, which would give me a better view of the whole pond. 3. I need to build some kind of rig to hold the camera in place and allow me to reposition it precisely each time. That'll take some thought, as I'm not the best at DIY. A quiet week around the pond, not helped by working 5 12-hour days this week and not having a lot of time to film and edit. Let's start, however, with the tench and mirror carp. And I'm pleased to say not much changed with either. The carp is much the same, looking healed and no longer a worry. The tench looks identical to last week, definitely no worse, and as I said, healing will be slow in the cold water, so this is good news. I completed some water testing, ammonia and nitrite again, still both at 0, so all good. I had hoped to also test for nitrate and oxygen, but my newest kits haven't arrived yet, so hopefully next week. The net's doing a good job of both looking ugly but keeping off most of the leaves. It also did a good job of stopping most of the hail we had during this week enter the pond, which wasn't planned but did help prevent any quick sudden temperature drop. The water temperature is now between 10.2 and 10.6. The fish continue to feed reasonably well, and although slowing down, as you may have seen in the earlier videos, they're still quite active. I'm going to continue to feed wheat germ until they stop eating it, or until at least the carp stop eating it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Keeping Water. I really do appreciate it. And please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it. In next week's episode, I'm going to show some of the ways I combat more extreme cold temperatures. And of course, there'll be the weekly update. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.